Ladies and gentlemen, it is that sweet, sweet time of day, my favorite time of day. It is time for Fantasy Daily, everybody. And for my classic viewers, my viewers who have been with us for a long, long time from Facebook, and introducing for the new viewers, an original Fantasy Daily member, Manny Leander. He is the co-host, he is the expert. Back when Fantasy Daily was originated and I was the commish, he was the expert, and that's where this whole thing started. So, super stoked to have Manny back. We got a sweet, awesome show for you today. Got this sleek little setup for me and Manny to sit at in front of you guys. And I'm excited. We got an awesome, awesome show for you guys today. The show segments today, we're going to go over the quick news, and then we're going to get right into the trade game. So the trade game for us, we're going to take 30 players that are in the trade news right now. I went through a couple different apps. Manny's going through a website. And we're going to talk about the 30 most popular names that are in trade talks right now. And then we're going to also do one of my favorite segments from the original Fantasy Daily, and that's lineup versus lineup. So me and Manny get So me and Manny get to draft a team live on air with you guys, and what we do is we take the top players from each position, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and we take out the top 5 or 10 and 15 for wide receivers, and then we have to draft from what's left. So that was my favorite segment back when I had a co-host. Now that we got the co-host back, we're going to do lineup versus lineup again, live draft on air. And if you are listening to the podcast, this show is likely to go over the 30-minute mark, and I'm going to have kind of no choice until I get more than 1,000 listeners on Spotify. I can't go any more than a half hour. So share with your friends so we can go over a half an hour, because I would like to do that. I also like to try to keep my regular show condensed, but it's not every day we get Manny in here, so I'm really excited. If the show does go over the half an hour time limit on Spotify, run over onto YouTube, check out the full show on there. And if you're on YouTube, hey, how you doing? All right, so let's get right into it. We got some news. Remember that waivers was today. What'd you get? What'd you get? What'd you get? I got Tony Pollard. None of you guys grabbed Tony Pollard, which makes no sense to me. I don't need Tony Pollard, and I got Tony Pollard, so I'm pretty excited. And remember to see who is dropped. Go take a look at, the waivers, see if somebody had no choice but to drop a wide receiver or a running back that could really help your team. And it's usually this time of year where somebody will drop somebody that they're not supposed to, and you can go ahead and scoop up a free player. Sorry about Marquise Brown, Manny.
It's okay.
All right, so getting into the quick news, I just want to steamroll through it so we can get right to the trade game. Tyrod Taylor has officially been placed on IR, meaning that Davis Mills will get the start on Thursday night. So if Panthers are are on the waivers and they're free agents, go ahead and pick them up. They probably got scooped up last night during waivers, but if they didn't, I would go ahead and take a look out at that for Panthers, because they'll probably feast against Davis Mills. Panthers are a fierce defense right now.
Mm-hmm.
Jarvis Landry officially placed on IR, so he's gone for at least 3 weeks. Amari Cooper has bruised ribs. They say he can play through, and I do believe that he can play through. But I also would temper your expectations that this might be a game where he sees limited snaps. So.
Oh yeah, they don't want to hurt him more.
No, and this is the Amari Cooper that we see all the time, where you have to play that game. He's gonna get injured. He's gonna have those moments. Those things are gonna happen. So
they'll wrap his ribs and they'll send him out.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see how it looks closer towards the weekend. But this might be a pivot play closer to Sunday if it looks like he's questionable for the game going in, because I would expect to see him see a limited amount of snaps given his injury history. Big Ben has a pec injury. They expect that he'll play. I think it was a non-throwing pec. I think it was his left pec, so he should be good to go. Darrell Henderson has a rib cartilage injury. They are hopeful he can play. We expect him to play. Usually when this happens, they throw him in a flak jacket and tell him to get out there. And Darrell Henderson was the clear one, so they're going to want him. So that's all the news we got for you today, everybody. Real quick, we're going to have a lot more tomorrow. Obviously, Wednesday is kind of gap day, so Thursday Night Football is tomorrow. I got all my top 10s for you, my rankings, stuff to talk about. So we have more of a, stats show tomorrow. Today's about fun. The fun stuff that we love. I love Wednesday shows. Wednesday shows are my favorite. So let's talk trades. Let's talk some trades. And I know, Manny, at first you said you wanted to talk before we even get into talk this. Let's talk about trades in general, because there's a lot of stigma. There's a lot of angst when it comes to trading in some leagues sometimes, where you have, 2 people who agree on the trade and the rest of the league doesn't. So go ahead, give me your thoughts on that.
So basically, just what defines like a fair trade? You know what I mean? So people like trading. evenly, running back for running back, wide receiver for wide receiver. But sometimes that doesn't work. Right. Sometimes, say you're stacked at running back, you really need a wide receiver. So who could you afford to lose?
Yeah.
So you might want to, like in the league that we're in, we love trading draft picks.
Yes.
Absolutely love trading draft picks.
If draft picks isn't a part of your league, real quick, not to interrupt, if draft picks isn't a part of the trade structure in your league, if you are in a league where every year you have new people coming in and you can't trade draft picks, that's a huge element lost in trading. That's a massive element lost. But go ahead, as you were saying, when it comes to team.
So if you're not, back to what you were saying, if you're not trading for draft picks, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. It has to be an integral part of the league. I prefer to have leagues that are set up like that. That way you can. I know in most dynasty leagues we still trade draft picks. And if there is a rollover in the league of a player, that player has to inherit the team. That comes with part of it. And you try to incentivize it a little bit by saying, hey, you get this team. But really, to me, it has to be a part of the league. It's integral when it comes to trading and structure for the league. Even if it's a redraft league, I think you have to kind of hope that everybody's there. And if one person drops out next year, sorry, you're taking that spot, and the draft picks he's traded
that's
away.
just the way it goes.
Right.
But if you and another manager are agreeing in a trade, what stops a lot of people from actually trading is you'll talk to another manager and you guys will talk privately, whether through text message, whether through it's in person or in a private chat through like DM, through whatever app you're using for fantasy. And it'll be between you and them.
Right, it's personal one-on-one.
Yes.
The league's not involved.
So what a lot that happens in people's heads when they're trading is they don't think about, oh, is this a fair trade for them? Is this a fair trade for me? They think, will this get vetoed?
Yeah, but will this get past the league? Right.
Will this get vetoed?
Right.
So it hinders a lot of people from actually even wanting to trade.
Right.
And if you try to trade with a person that just straight up doesn't know how to trade, you get a lot of sour people, you get a lot of salty people.
As far as vetoing goes in leagues, for the most part, veto should be left up to commissioner, and that should be a unanimous, malicious veto. Whereas the commissioner is saying, this is clearly somebody taking advantage of somebody else on purpose, and that's why it's being vetoed. Whereas if I were to play with somebody who was first year, you know what I mean, and I go out and I trade them with the opinion of, hey, I play fantasy football all the time and you know that. So I'm going to trade you this guy, and I promise you this guy's going to be really good, but you give me that guy. That's malicious. So if it's a malicious, clear, trying to exploit somebody to make your team better, first of all, uncool. Don't play fantasy football like that. That's
because you know why? Because they're not gonna come back next year.
Right. Exactly. Now, if you get into the more experienced players like me and you, if I were to make you a trade, right, and I know that I'm sending you an offer that I wouldn't accept, and you hit accept, that's a different story. Yeah. And that's why vetoing, when it comes to this level, I feel there shouldn't be a veto process. If it was up to me, every single trade would go through right away, and then we would talk about it there if we have to. No pending period, nothing like that. It goes through immediately, and then as soon as it goes through, that's when you talk about, hey, was that a fair trade, blah, 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 and it depends on team structure. So I want to get into the point of team structure a little bit first, not to take over the argument, but team structure between teams, like you were saying, whereas if you're loaded at running back and I'm loaded at wide receiver and we're both missing the other and we're trying to flop, but people don't see the value there. Like if you were to trade Amari Cooper right now for David Montgomery, right? Okay, that seems ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Why would you trade somebody like Amari Cooper for David
what are
Montgomery?
You doing?
Right. But in your head, you need a running back that you can rely on, and you don't want to take the risk of having Amari Cooper miss games because of injury, right? So you're willing to take that risk. You, the team manager that needs a running back,
that hit.
I'm willing to take that risk because I'm confident in my wide receivers. that's when you get into the area of this is a trade that needs to be vetoed because the value is unfair, which I agree. The direct value of Amari Cooper for David Montgomery is not fair. It's not even, all right, it's close, but it's not fair. But for those team structures that I just described, it makes it a fair trade for both those teams. They're both leveling off positions that they feel they need to fill. And as anybody knows, when you feel like you have a gap at a position, that's a large part of your team that you need to fill to feel confident going into the week. So I think team structure is a large part that people leave out of trades when they talk about value in trading. Whereas if it's not direct value, that's when it gets vetoed. But I'm also with you where that's hogwash. We shouldn't be vetoing anything like that.
Because vetoing, you can have, like, if you have an 8-man, 10-man, 12-man league, and the top two guys are trading,
right?
The rest of the league gets together and they're like, hey, we can't let this happen.
Right. And then they collude.
That's collusion.
Yeah, that's collusion. Right. If you can't collude towards them either, and I think that's where it also gets into this point of, you got to know your leagues. So if we're going into the playoffs and somebody who's at the bottom end is tossing you a lifeline to make sure that you beat me in the playoffs despite me being in the playoffs, that's where we get back to the argument of this is malicious intent. You're doing this despite somebody, which, again, don't play the game that way. If you have a competitive league where everybody wants to be a jerk to each other and those are the rules of the league, that's a different story. That's a different story.
Those are the rules.
Exactly. And that's even how we started this league off. We started off where it's, hey, if it's your problem, it's your problem. And then it really developed into like, okay, it's not fair. We're clearly going to have a one-sided league if we do it that way, so it's not fair. So
because the people that are winning they're just going to keep winning nonstop.
And it's not fair. You want to spread the love. You want to make sure everybody's having a good time. Enjoy fantasy while it's here. So before we move on to the game, I also want to say that don't force trades with whatever you're doing. If you find yourself digging, and I've done it too, I'm not innocent. If you find yourself digging for a trade, trying to make it happen, and you're sending offers and the value doesn't match with anybody, you got to leave it alone and try a different avenue. You got to go after the waivers. You might even have to take a shot on a player that you like. So I know a lot of people they'll send me things and go, hey, somebody sent me this trade. What do you think about it? I think they're trying to take advantage of me, and it is. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to take advantage of you. So if you're one of those people that's sending out those trades and they're trying to take advantage of a situation or something like that, don't force it, because first of all, you're gonna make yourself throw up from anxiety trying to do something that's not gonna happen, and you're gonna annoy the other people in the league. So make it fun. Make sure you remember that this is a game. I know you guys might have money against it and everything like that, but try not to anger your league mates, and try not to force it. Let it happen. Let it. It should be fluid. It should be easy. It should be swaps. I know sometimes you got to be intricate and look at players, but if you're forcing it and sending out 1 million offers a day, you got to relax, take it down, and you might have to take a loss on a player somewhere in your values. You know what I mean? Where if you're, you were talking to me this morning about an Alvin Kamara trade. If somebody really wants to go get Alvin Kamara, you got to pay for it, and if you really want that player, then you got to put your money where your mouth is. And if the manager of that player doesn't agree with your value, it's not up to you at that time what that value is. They drafted that player. It's up to them what their value is. You know what I mean? My brother in the league, he has Cooper Kupp, and that last week I gave him an offer, and he was like, yeah, we'll talk. Guess what? The Cooper Kupp offer is not the same as it was after he scores 40 points.
No.
You know what I mean? And I have to accept that. So now I'm sitting here, and I'm still saying, hey, I called it, I thought Cooper Kupp was going to be the number one in the offseason, but I didn't have the guts to go and get him. So now I have two options: play without him or pay the price. Sometimes you got to pay the price if you really got.
If you really want.
Exactly. So don't stare at your phone and scream that somebody's not agreeing with your price because you might know what the values are better than them. It's gonna happen. That value on that team does not automatically mean the value it is in your mind. Some people, especially people like Alvin Kamara, we're fans of the game as well. So I want to see Alvin Kamara play. I want to cheer for Alvin Kamara. So it's hard for me to want to let that person go. So I'm ready to move on.
Yeah.
You ready? All right. Yep. So today we are playing the trade game. I wish I had some little music here. Doop 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 trade game. So we are playing the trade game today. Now what the trade game is we take 30 players that are in the consensus right now everywhere that everybody's talking about. I went onto a lot of different websites, a lot of different platforms, and they're talking about these players, Would I trade this guy? Should I trade this guy? Stuff like that. So I wrote down the top 30 names, and now the rules of the game are simple. You have 3 options. You can either keep this player, trade him away, or try to trade for him. So I took the 30 names that everybody's kind of panicking about and wondering that's around the league, and let's go ahead and talk. So me and Manny are both going to give our opinions on which of the 3 options we would give on each of these 30 players. So once again, the options are you can keep them on your roster, you can try to trade them away, like sell them on their price that they are right now, sell them on their value, or you can try to acquire them. You can try to trade for them. If they're on the trade market and people are saying, hey, I would trade this guy, is this somebody you should go get while people are low on him? Or is this somebody you should avoid? Something like that, whatever it may be. So, all right, so let's get right into it with the first name, and that is Leonard Fournette, running back number 1 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Technically number 1.
Technically, yeah, but default number 1.
Yeah, default, I like that.
Yeah, default number. Yeah, exactly. Number 1. There's a lot of default number 1s this year. Yeah. So Leonard Fournette's the first one I want to talk about. Manny, I'm going to pass to you first because I know you're a Tampa Bay fan more than I am.
Oh, totally.
Keep, trade, or acquire.
It would be hard to trade him, but I would trade him.
I'm exactly the same way with you are. Yeah. Right? I don't think running back values in Tampa Bay go very far. So whatever Leonard Fournette is at right now is probably where he is for the season. And he's one of those people that I stare at in my roster, and I know that when I put him in my lineup, he's going to score me 9 points. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
He'll score 15 points on my bench, 9 points in my lineup. So if I can trade Leonard Fournette, I'm definitely willing to move him. I'm not sure how many people out there you can get for Leonard Fournette.
That's what I mean. I wouldn't be able to try. I wouldn't be able to get a lot of value for Leonard Fournette, but
yeah. So some names
I would try to.
So some names that I have around the Leonard Fournette area that. In my rankings, I just want to throw at you. I'm going to give you 3 names. Tell me if you would trade Leonard Fournette for any and all of these 3 names. Jamal Williams from Detroit, James White from New England, Tyson Williams, Baltimore.
I would try and go after White. I would offer Leonard Fournette for James White.
For James White?
Yeah.
Probably. Absolutely. Yeah. But would you do it for Jamal Williams and Tyson as well?
Jamal Williams is sharing the ball with
DeAndre Swift.
Yeah. I don't know, because see, it could go like either way. They could both do 20 points, or one can do 20 points and the other could do 9.
Right. See, but I think that's a point where that's why I would trade Leonard Fournette for Jamal Williams, because I think Jamal Williams' ceiling will always be higher than Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
He always has the chance to go for 20 points, where I feel like Leonard Fournette...
Do you think they have the same floor, though?
I think Leonard Fournette has a much lower floor than Jamal Williams. I think Jamal Williams' worst games will be at like 6-7 points, and Leonard Fournette could disappear completely.
Yeah.
As far as Tyson Williams... I probably wouldn't. No. I would probably hang on to Leonard Fournette for Tyson Williams. Yeah. So some names below him, Javonte Williams. I actually have James Robinson below Leonard Fournette. If I can trade Leonard Fournette to get James Robinson, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So
if I could, I would.
Yeah, so we're both a trade for him. All right, next name. Marvin Jones, wide receiver for Jacksonville. So this is actually a fun one for me because he is technically right now Jacksonville's number 1 wide receiver. He caught a touchdown in back-to-back weeks. But this is a trade for me.
It's a keep for me.
A keep?
A keep.
Okay.
I would definitely move him to maybe wide receiver 3 or flex just to see what's going on. If I have better wide receivers than
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're moving him down in your.
I would move him down in rankings,
right? Okay.
and expectations, but I would not. I would not trade for him. I personally, in the leagues that I'm in, I personally don't start trading until after week 3 or 4,
right.
So I can get an idea of an average of what kind of points, what kind of volume the players are getting.
After you get that 3-week sample size, you do kind of get to hone in a little bit on what the norm is for most of these teams. If they had a bad game week 1, if something was off.
Yeah, because you can get the game script.
Yeah.
You can understand how things are operating.
Yeah, and the perception's a little bit easier once you get in there. So I do agree with that. It's a little bit more easier to digest, especially once you get like later on, like week 5, week 6 is when you really have a picture of what you can be confident with. So so he's a keep for you. You're moving him down in your rankings. Your expectations, you're dropping a little bit. Me, if I can trade him away now, I will, because I think that when you look at his box score, it looks good. So hopefully nobody clicks on the stats to when you are trading that, because he caught a touchdown in back-to-back games. And I don't expect Jacksonville to keep doing that. I expect the people to get involved. I expect the running game to get involved. I do think Jacksonville is a mess. So if I can trade Marvin Jones in a package with somebody else to acquire somebody else, that's kind of how I would do that. Like, if I could take Leonard Fournette and Marvin Jones and package them and go get somebody, that's what I want to try to do. If I can trade 2 lower end guys for a wide receiver 3, a flex that I'm confident in, that's the move I would definitely make. So Marvin Jones is a trade for me. Moving on, Manny, you're a Pittsburgh fan. Najee Harris is number 3, and this one actually surprised me, but his name was everywhere.
Yeah,
his name was everywhere.
People are panicking. He had the good week last week. He got in the end zone. The first week wasn't great. Manny, you're the resident Pittsburgh fan, so let me pass to you. What are you doing with Najee Harris? I would unbiasedly keep Najee.
Unbiasedly, I like that. I'm with you, though. I think there's not enough time for us to see what happened with Pittsburgh. I think that
Pittsburgh always starts off slow anyway.
Right. And even if they don't start off as good as they want to, you know what I mean? Last year they had the run of going, 11-0 before they finally took their loss, but I just don't feel like they're settled in enough to where they are, and we do see that Najee, they clearly want him to be the guy that they use at running back. They clearly want him to be the one that, pushes this ball forward when they need it. So I think once he gets settled in a little bit, I'm expecting a lot more of him, and as much as I'm saying keep, depending on the offer you get for Najee, if the offer hits your inbox, so I'm not trading him away.
Yeah.
But if an offer hits my inbox and it's got you're not getting a Dalvin Cook, but if it's
you're not getting CMC,
if
you're
it's
not getting Dalvin Cook.
If it's got an Austin Eckler in it, if it's got a Chris Carson in it.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
You see what I mean? So I'm not trading him away.
I'm watering.
Yes, exactly. But if it's my inbox and it's Najee and somebody else, but I get Eckler and somebody else, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm thinking about it. So that's a little bit of a different story. Me personally, I am definitely keeping him. But if the offer hits my inbox and it seems...
If you're approached.
Yes, and they're willing to pay the price on Najee, because people will still pay the price on Najee right now. They'll see that last game and go, okay, here it comes. I'm willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
Buy it before it hits the 30-point value. So I don't think anybody's sending those offers. Nobody's trading Eckler to get, Najee. But if it hits your inbox... Sometimes these things happen.
Sometimes it's a little morsel.
I've gotten a lot of crazy week 3, week 4 offers where people are trying to say, okay, I got this good guy, let me sell him before he gets injured. That's Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
So if that Austin Eckler hits your inbox, that's a much different story. All right, Robert Woods. Manny, I'm gonna pass to you.
I would say trade.
Yes,
I would say trade.
The issue I have here with Robert Woods is that I do believe he has a lot of value with Matt Stafford. I don't know when it's going to come. Now, I don't put him at the Marvin Jones level. He's still much farther up there. I keep him at the Juju kind of, up there level. So I am still a big fan of Robert Woods. He's on a lot of trade markets right now. As much as I am willing to trade him away, I don't think I'm going to get what I want for him, and it's gonna.
No, you're definitely gonna drop. You're gonna drop a couple spots.
I feel like you're gonna have to trade him at Marvin Jones level, which is, I can't do it. Especially so Robert Woods for me is a keep, because of what you're going to get for him. As much as I do say that there's those players on your team that you don't want to sit there and finally you put them in and they give you 10 points. As much as you don't want to have that player who could blow up on any given week, who could blow up in a negative way. I think I still want to wait and see with what happens, because as much as we see Cooper Kupp explode, I don't know if it could go either way. So I do feel Cooper Kupp is the guy. He's going to be a top 5 wide receiver by the end of the year. I think all the targets are going to go Cooper Kupp's way, and he's just going to get peppered by Stafford. But we are, like you said, very early into the season. So I'm willing to trade Robert Woods, but it has to be at the value that I see him at. Besides that, I want to keep him.
I would trade. I would package it with either I would do Robert Woods and another player, or I would do Robert Woods and a pick for maybe Antonio Gibson, maybe.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, especially with people being low on Gibson, if you could package Robert Woods, I don't think the Gibson owner is going to move on something like that. You'd have to give them something pretty wild with Robert Woods in order to get the Gibson train to leave. But as far as wide receivers go, if I could trade Robert Woods for a Cortland Sutton, that I would do. You know what I mean? Because you got Judy out for a long time. Christian Kirk, if I can get rid of Robert Woods for a Kirk, I would do that. Mike Williams, you're probably not going to be able to pull that off now. Marquise Brown, if I can get Marquise Brown for
Keenan
Robert
Allen.
Woods. Yeah, no way you're getting Keenan Allen. No way you're getting Keenan Allen.
That's before this show started recording, and before we started doing this, we were talking about how websites and fantasy apps show you what people or what you should be trading.
Oh, don't use the tool.
Yeah,
don't use
do
the
not use
tool.
the tool.
Don't use it on any website. Don't use it. No. They're so bad. But yeah, as you were saying, they were saying trade Keenan Allen, and you should be getting like something else.
It says if you would trade Robert Woods, you should be able to get Keenan Allen, James White, and a third-round pick.
That'd be sick.
That would be. It would be. I started a league with a daycare center.
Yes.
And
they let me do what I want. Yeah. So don't use those analyzers. Those trade analyzers are absolutely awful. All right, so you're on a trade but keep as well with me on that one. Moving down to A.J. Brown, top wide receiver for Tennessee. This is an absolute keep for me. He's on a lot of those websites. He's on a lot of people saying, should I trade this? Should I let go of this? Should I cash in now? He's an absolute keep for me.
Yeah.
Tennessee might have gotten off to a slow start. We don't know what to do with Julio yet, but A.J. Brown to me is an absolute keep, and it's not easy. I mean, it's not close.
Yeah. No, I agree. I
concur. All right, Zeke.
Zeke here. Zeke's name has a lot of value. Zeke's name has an absolute lot of value. Even though the value could not be there, just the name alone carries weight.
Right.
You know what I mean? When people see Zeke, Gronk, Antonio Brown, Travis Kelce.
It's a brand.
It's a brand.
Mm-hmm.
People want the brand.
Yeah.
So even though the value might not be there, they're totally blinded by just the name.
The word Zeke. Right?
Yeah. See, with CeeDee Lamb being there, and with the ball being slinged and flying out as Dallas as often as it is, it really seems like that they're not really throwing to Zeke like out of the backfield a lot, like giving him like the little 5-yard pass like just over the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
It seems like they're just gunning it.
Yeah, exactly. And his receptions are really what carries him in fantasy. When you need Zeke to put you over the edge, it was the receptions that he took. It was the little screen passes, the little post routes that he took 30, 40 yards.
Yeah. And they just chipped away and chipped away and chipped away. But now they have these receivers where they're putting Acme glue on their gloves and they're just catching everything. And
right, your worst receiver is Michael Gallup. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. So to extend onto your point, I'm probably going to go off a little bit here now. If you are on Spotify, we are about to cut out, so hopefully I get my Zeke take in here. There's a lot more names to go and the lineup versus lineup. So if you guys are on Spotify, make sure to check over to YouTube. Thanks for joining us today. But let's keep going. Let me keep rolling to hopefully get this Zeke point in before the thing clears out. Nope, only 30 seconds. Sorry, Spotify. So Zeke, to me, is a keep. And now I see him a lot of places right now, and he seems to be actually one of the biggest names that people are panicking about. And I do see the panic in Tony Pollard. I get it. I went and spent a waiver pick and dropped Tyson Williams to get Tony Pollard. It's in an 8-man league. Leave me alone. Don't kill me in the comments. So I dropped Tyson Williams to get Tony Pollard because I do believe that this is now going to be a two-headed committee. So I do believe that Zeke is... The days of Zeke being Derrick Henry and those guys, I think we're past those days.
Yeah,
exactly. So with that, you got to digest it a little bit. You got to kind of take it for what it is. I'm still in love with Zeke. I still think that he has 25-point ability, but like I said in my waiver show yesterday, I think that Tony Pollard just has something that you can't ignore. He's clearly, and I dare to say it, better on the field right now. He looks electric. He looks explosive. He's making people miss. He's embarrassing dudes. He's getting into the end zone. He's clicking with Dak Prescott. Yeah, he's clicking with the whole game. So they do still want Zeke to be the one. And I do think that this offense is good enough and powerful enough to support both of them. And I do think that it's going to be a tilt where one week Zeke gets 24, the next week Pollard gets 12, or that same week Pollard gets 12, and then the next week Pollard gets 15 and Zeke gets 8. So I think it is going to be kind of a seesaw of who gets what. But I do think that both players are super valuable, and unless you can get Zeke for a top end, unless you can cash in Zeke for a top end guy, I'm really not willing to part ways with Zeke. So if you can take Zeke and package him to get an Alvin Kamara, and Aaron Jones, and Nick Chubb, and Austin Eckler, then I would. You know what I mean? If you can 1-for-1 Chris Carson for Zeke, then I would. But besides that, those are the only players I'm looking at because they're the clear ones on their team with no competition. I mean, Nick Chubb has Kareem Hunt, and Kareem Hunt's a good running back, but let's be honest, he's not competition for Nick Chubb.
No.
He's not close to better than Nick Chubb. So if you can take Zeke and turn him into one of those guys, then, I'm for it. But at the same time, I don't think you're going to get that value, and that's why, for me, he's a keep. So not to go off too much into Zeke, but I think that a lot of people are tilting on him. So I wanted to kind of give a thorough point on, if he's, able to yield you a top-end guy, then sure, do it. Besides that, you're probably bullied into keeping him.
Yeah.
So I would keep him.
I would try to trade him. Like you said, there's a lot of panic happening right now. Zeke's name is practically a brand.
Yeah.
I would try and trade Zeke to try and get something. Mainly because like his name is a brand. I'm trying to take control of the panic that's happening right now. And sometimes people they do get blinded by a name. They don't even check the stats. They don't check the game lineup for the team. They don't check to see if it's a good year, if it's going to be a cakewalk for the whatever
schedule and everything.
Yeah, the schedule, and so you might be able to make a diamond out of coal, but I would try to trade him, but I do agree with you. I think you're going to get bullied into keeping him. Yeah. But I personally would try and trade him.
So you're saying go ahead and look, see what you can get.
Try.
Yeah, put the offers out there, package a wide receiver, put them, see if you can get Nick Chubb.
Package a pick, package a wide receiver.
Right, be willing.
Something.
Right, and I'm willing. He's one of those players I am willing to pay up. So if I have to take Zeke and package him with a good wide receiver...
Because why? Because it's Zeke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. And that's what I'm saying is that people might have the perception that he's not that player, so I'm not giving you Nick Chubb for him. So if I have to package Zeke with a good wide receiver in order to get Nick Chubb, I might take that route depending on who my wide receivers are. Yeah. So wide receivers explode every day. They're kind of a dime a dozen on the waiver wire as far as lower end guys, so it depends on who your structure is, but as always, keep team structure in mind. So I want to start rallying off a lot of these because we got a lot to go, and we're only 6 in, and we're already half an hour. Spotify's already canceled out, so I don't want this show to go over an hour. So, Manny, let's start steamrolling through some of these names. Mark Andrews.
Trade.
Yeah, see, I would too. You're not going to get much for him, but if I can take Mark Andrews and get a Logan Thomas and a wide receiver, I'll do that. Yeah. So if I can get a lower end tight end that I feel good about, plus a player that I like, then I would trade Mark Andrews for him. Absolutely. George Kittle?
Keep. I would keep him.
So same exact argument that I had for Mark Andrews, I have for George Kittle. Whereas if somebody wants to buy that name, and I can get a lower end tight end plus a wide receiver or running back, like if I can get a Dallas Goedert if I can get a Dallas Goedert, a Robert Tonyan, that's probably it, Tyler Higbee, Logan Thomas again, Noah Fant. If I can get one of those lower end guys plus a wide receiver or running back in exchange for Kittle, I'll do that. Those are trades that I like to make. I actually like to get more tight ends in leagues in order to do that later on in the year, because tight end's a commodity. So when you have a commodity, commodities have more value. And actually, tight end's the best spot to have commodity because they don't even carry those points usually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Logan Thomas, his price is way more than what he's going to put up, which is 8 or 9 points.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I had a wide receiver who's getting 8 or 9 points, nobody wants that. But since it's a tight end that's getting 8 or 9 points,
they automatically think, it's a tight end standard.
Yeah, exactly right. So you get way more value. So that's why I really like to exploit kind of the tight end position a little bit. Whereas I do grab more tight ends during the offseason on purpose to do that, or I draft more tight ends during the offseason on purpose. Manny, this name real quick. This was on so many different things. This was on so many different outlets saying, do we trade this guy?
Really?
And now, to make the show a little bit easier and a little bit quicker, Manny, can you do this one with me? Kyler Murray, what do you do?
I'm keeping him.
Keep. We keep. Why are you talking about trading Kyler Murray? Do not cash in. This is not a cash in. Well, how dare you? How dare you speak of Kyler Murray that way?
He can. They're right now. Arizona is just doing whatever they want.
Whatever they want. He's going Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
Don't you dare think about trading Kyler Murray. He is a keep, 100% keep. Trade for if you can.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen.
Yeah. No. That's. Yeah. Who would you even trade for Kyler Murray?
Yeah. Exactly. Right. So if somebody here is trying to cash in on Kyler Murray, do it. I would trade Patrick Mahomes to get Kyler Murray. Joe Mixon.
Trade.
I'm agreeing with you, and it's kind of, I'm going to apply the same argument to Zeke, though, whereas if you get bullied into keeping him, keep him. Yeah. Don't trade him for a lower-end guy. You have to move up to get, if you're trading Joe Mixon away, you have to be moving up in running back. That's a hit you can't afford to take. So, for me, it's a keep. For Manny, it's a trade, but he agrees it's a trade up.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders, one of my favorites.
I would definitely try and keep him.
Keep him.
But if like you said, if I was approached and something hit my inbox, and if it was juicy,
then I would accept it. Right?
I would accept it.
So I'm kind of on the way. I'm kind of on the fence with Miles Sanders, so therefore it's a keep for me.
Yeah.
Because if I had Miles Sanders in a league, I want to trade him to get that position to be better, but I know that I'm not going to get the value for it, so I kind of am getting bullied into it. But at the same time, if I can get Miles Sanders for really cheap in a league, then I would want to trade for him. So if you have some extra players, an extra running back and wide receiver on your bench, and you can send the Miles Sanders manager a 2-for-1, see if he'll take it.
Yeah.
Because I want to trade for him, but at the same time, if I have him, I want to keep him. And I'm not spending too much on him. I'm not spending too much, but I would like to have him on my team, and I'd like to keep him. So, Allen Robinson.
I would keep.
Yes.
I would keep.
Allen Robinson is an absolute must-keep for me. He's one of those people where, I actually see him going a lot in packages, and he's going around kind of like the, what do I have him in here, my wide receiver range? Yeah, he's going kind of around like the, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Mike Evans. So to me, those are players that you could move on for him. But besides that, he's a top-end guy. You got to keep Allen Robinson. And I would keep rolling with him too. He actually said this week that he got a deep ball this week, and he was surprised when he looked over his shoulder and the ball was there.
Really?
He was genuinely surprised that he got a pass thrown to him downfield by Justin Fields. That was his words.
Wow. Okay.
So I feel like that was a subtle shot at Andy Dalton, and that was also a subtle shot at Matt Nagy to say, you need to leave him in.
Yeah.
And like I said yesterday on my show, if I was Matt Nagy, I'm taking this and running with it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Andy. I think your knee's hurt. You might want to take that for an extra 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like, Doc, it's 2-week injury. Six minimum.
6 weeks. I said 6.
I said 6. Yeah, I would run with it.
Yeah.
I would anything to keep, because I know he's trying to save face with Andy Dalton and the rest of the league. Stop. Pull the Band-Aid. Andy, you suck.
Yeah, cut the bad fruit off the tree. Sorry.
Yeah, and
you're not the red rifle anymore. Sorry.
Right, and the way that they're using Allen Robinson, it's not great. I saw a chart that breaks out his routes from a couple weeks ago, and I don't think he had one route over 10 yards.
Really?
Yeah.
So what? They're all like slants.
They're keeping it. Yeah, they're keeping him in, which might have been game design. I think they were playing. What was it? The Rams? No, they didn't play the Rams. I don't remember, but it might have been game design. But looking at it, I'm like, I don't care what defense you're playing, you don't use Allen Robinson like that.
Yeah, you don't do that.
Yeah. All right, so we're both keep on Allen Robinson.
This next one, I can't even believe his name is on here.
That's what I'm saying. So this is why I put some of these guys in here, is because if these names are on here, these people are asking these questions.
Yeah.
Should I trade Amari Cooper?
Amari Cooper.
No, you shouldn't trade Amari Cooper.
No.
Because you're not. Because now that he's in,
just get him.
Yeah.
Just get him.
Actually, I'm cutting you from the league. You're
dropped.
You're dropped.
But thank you for your money.
I get it. He's injured right now, and you're kind of concerned that you don't want to play this dance, but you're not ever going to get what you want in return for Amari Cooper when he's injured. So if you wanted to trade Amari Cooper, you should have thought about it last week, going into week 2 and the cash in moment. But for me, Amari Cooper has the potential to finish in the top 10, even with some injuries.
Even last year, he was the leading wide receiver for yards.
Right. So I think when it comes to somebody like Amari Cooper, he can miss games and still finish top 12 in fantasy. So absolutely not. Keep Amari Cooper.
Absolutely.
Logan Thomas.
No, trade.
Trade?
I don't think you could. I don't think you could get. I really don't think you could get because you were talking about trading up.
Yeah.
Don't think you can trade up with Logan Thomas.
Yeah, it depends on the buyer that you're going to and what their opinion of Logan Thomas is. Me personally, I want to keep Logan Thomas because I understand that he might have some trade value right now for people who are hurting at tight end, and he might have left a bad taste in your mouth after last week. But I do feel like now that Taylor Heineke, after that second half that we saw, he kind of got a little bit more settled in, and we did see a little bit more targets go Logan Thomas's way. So it seems to be Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas, Antonio Gibson, where he really only has those 3 and he doesn't know who else to go to. So Logan Thomas for now is a keep for me.
Would you say you're getting bullied to keep him?
No, this is more of I want to see what happens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I want to see what happens. I'm not ready to trade him yet, is what I'm saying. So I'm not ready. I think Logan Thomas still has potential to be a top 5 wide receiver this year. And I know that's bold, but it's just the team structure. I feel like he's necessary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They just got to figure it out.
Right, but as much as you want to throw to Terry McLaurin every single play, you can't throw him the ball 32 times a game. You know what I mean? You can throw him the ball 15 times a game, but those other 17 targets need to go somewhere. So I think, 7 of them can go to Logan Thomas, and he's a big guy. Those red zone targets could be his. So I want to see what happens with Logan Thomas. So
he could be a vulture.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then even if Logan Thomas, pops off and he has a really good 25-point game, and you can trade him to get into the top tier, package him to get a Hawkinson, sure. But, again, it's a tight end position. I'm not going to go too crazy to keep him, you know what I mean? Because you're only playing 3 tight ends.
Yeah.
If you're playing Kelsey, Waller, Hawkinson, then you're worried. Besides that, I really don't care. And even look at Waller this week.
Yeah.
So tight end's a hard spot for me to actually care about that deeply. So if you're somebody who has Logan Thomas and you're worried and you want to upgrade, hang in there for now, I think. Julio Jones.
See, this is another brand name for me.
Yeah, it's true. You're not wrong. This is definitely another brand name.
This is another brand name for me. I would keep him just to see what happens. To see if they because right now Julio Jones is kind of like oil and water with the game script. Yeah. They're not really mixing, they're not really clicking, they're not but I personally think that they're not even looking at him. They're not even giving him a chance.
Yeah. See, I think this week we saw it happen a lot more, and I'm going to go kind of against the grain on what the industry consensus is on Julio Jones, and I was in the same camp with them all year, where it was like, I don't want Julio Jones. I don't trust it. I don't like it. But I'm starting to feel like he might become Mr. Necessity. And I also feel like his price will never get lower. So he's kind of a trade for target for me. So it's hard for me to say what I would give up for Julio Jones.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had Robert Woods and I had Julio Jones, would you make that trade?
You're giving me Robert Woods?
No, I'm giving you Julio.
No.
You would rather want Woods?
Yeah.
See, I think I'm on the Julio side, and I think that's why it's a fun argument to have right now, because I think Julio is still Julio, and while Ryan Tannehill, well, he's just the best. To me, he can still run routes better than most. You know what I mean? He's still top 3 route runner. He's still top 5 hands. So I think right now, if you can buy him for a good price, if you could acquire him for a good price, I might do it, because his price is never going to get lower. And his ceiling is way higher than a lot of the people on that tier. I don't think anybody in that tier... The only person who was in that tier last week who's no longer in that tier is Mike Williams. And Mike Williams just busted out of that tier, and now he's never going to get cheaper.
Yeah.
So I feel like Julio Jones might be on a Mike Williams kind of, hey, we have to get this guy involved. And as much as A.J. Brown is involved... he's getting covered up every single game.
Yeah, he's getting like 2-3 defenders.
Right. So they're trying to settle into their offense now that they have a Julio Jones. You know what I mean? You saw that one week that Rodgers had more yards than him. Weird. But I think that Julio might be a trade for target. So depending on what you can get for him, depending on what the price is, for me, he's trade for. Manny, you said keep?
I said keep.
Okay, yeah, you said keep. I said trade for if you can. I put TF in the thing. This is one that just...
why is this on here?
This just angers me. I don't understand. You'll be surprised how far up he was, too. As far as, the amount of times I've seen his name come up, you'd be surprised. Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp?
Manny, on the count of 3, what are we doing with Cooper Kupp?
Keep.
I said on the count of 3.
I can't...
All right, we're keeping him. Him.
How can you not? How can you not?
I don't understand how...
Why is his name on here? You know?
Yeah.
It's just...
Like I said, if you were looking at what I was looking at last night, it was every time I'm like, Cooper, what? For who? No way. Jamar Chase.
I would trade.
You would trade him away? Okay. Yeah.
I would trade him away.
Yeah, I think I'm a trade on this one just because I'm really tough. Actually, you know what? If you look, I actually did this on purpose. The next 3 wide receivers. Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins.
I would try and trade. You talk about who I would trade for.
Well, yeah. Just give me your thoughts on these 3 players.
So I would trade Boyd, keep Higgins, and keep Harris.
No. You're on Damian Harris. Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins.
Boyd. I'm sorry.
So Boyd you would trade away.
Yeah.
Higgins you would keep, and then what would you do with Jamar Chase?
I would try and trade too.
Trade him away. Okay. So yeah. So I agree. I agree with. I'm going to keep T. Higgins. I'm trading Tyler Boyd for whatever the heck I can.
Yeah. Just try to go up.
Right. Exactly.
And anything.
If I don't want to play this roulette. I think T. Higgins is the red zone guy. I think he's going to be clearly the better option on this team when it comes to the 3 wide receivers, so I'm willing to keep him. Tyler Boyd, I feel, is a massive, massive liability, and I feel Jamar Chase is going to be very, very up and down throughout the year. So if I can trade Jamar Chase, I absolutely will. I'm not really sure as far as the Jamar Chase, area goes, what you would do. If I can trade Jamar Chase to get Brandon Cooks, I will. I don't think it's going to happen. If I can trade Jamar Chase to get Antonio Brown, I would. Rondale Moore, probably not Rondale Moore. I mean, he's on Arizona, but it's the same thing. It's that flip-flop, so I think that Rondale Moore and him. I prefer the Arizona offense, so maybe if you're a Rondale Moore fan and you have Jamar Chase and you want to get, move on from him.
You said Higgins is the red zone guy?
No, T. Higgins is the red zone guy for me. Absolutely.
Another thing, if you're looking at if you're playing like that, if you're playing for who's the red zone guy, you also have to think how often can this team get into the red zone?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a very good point. How often are they scoring? So even if T. Higgins is the red zone guy, how often does he get that chance?
Yeah,
once a game, twice a game.
Yeah, how often do they get? Within the red zone.
Right. And I think Cincinnati is going to play better than what they have been playing. But I do agree. Trade Chase, trade Boyd, Higgins I'd keep. I'd hang on to him. Damian Harris. Manny, what you feel about Damian Harris, New England running back? How do you feel about him?
I would try and trade him because New England just every year, they try and get a running back to replace James White. Mm-hmm. The rookie running back, looks good in the preseason, looks good in camp, looks good in the off season, and then when game time happens, they just give it to James White anyway.
Yeah.
So I would hate to be that player in that position. You're really working. You're trying to show the owner, the manager. You're trying to show the offensive coach that you can trust me. Mm-hmm. I should be in this game script. I should be. You're trying to make a name for yourself.
Right.
You've worked. A lot of these people that play professionally. They've worked their whole life for this. And then you get there and you excel in camp, you excel in the off season, you excel in the preseason, just for the regular season to start, and you're not played anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So it's. I would try and trade him, but I don't think that people would give me value for him.
So hopefully, then my take will make you a little bit more optimistic on the view of Damian Harris. So. My opinion right now is that you keep Damian Harris. Do not move on. But this week, Damian Harris.
Would you keep him on your bench, or would you keep him?
Oh, this week I'm gonna start him.
Okay.
So I want Damian Harris, and I want him this week because he's playing at home against New Orleans, and he just bullied a defense last week. I think that Damian Harris has a big chance to pop off in this game and put up 25, 30 points. So I'm keeping Damian Harris for this week, mm-hmm. and then I'm trading him.
So you're acquiring the value.
Yes, and then I'm trading him because I don't think his value can go lower next week. Yeah. It can only go up. So that's why keep that in mind as well. Is keep an eye on the matchups, and if you have a player who has an okay value, but you wished it was higher, watch the matchups. Maybe next week he has an easy opponent. You could wait 1 week on that player and then sell him for the higher value later on. So. My thoughts with Damian Harris is he has a good matchup next week. He clearly was the bully on the team last week. James White was the pass-catching back. Damian Harris got the bulk of the work, the majority of the carries, and I expect him to get a lot of carries in this game. I expect New England to beat up New Orleans at home, okay? Jameis Winston is going to get beat up by this New England defense next week. And I'm not saying that as a Pats fan. I'm saying that as a Jameis Winston and that team looked bad. And I know that they had a lot of coaches. They looked bad. They had
a lot of coaches out, right?
Yeah, they had like 5 to 8 coaches out, but they looked bottom tier offense bad last week. So with that, I feel like if the Patriots come in, they do what they always do. Bill Belichick does what he always does. He takes away Alvin Kamara, takes away your best player, tells you to beat me without it. I think Jameis Winston without Alvin Kamara looks a lot like what it did last week, so Damian Harris value go up. But when it comes to Damian Harris and all the people who are fans of Damian Harris, let's play a little game, all right? I'm going to ask a question, and I want you to raise your hand if this has ever happened to you. Mm-hmm. Raise your hand if in fantasy you have been personally victimized by these names. Sony Michel, James White, Rex Burkhead. Exactly.
Yeah.
These are all New England running backs that we were super high on and have hurt our feelings. Yeah. Everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm willing to see what happens, but I don't trust New England running backs, and I never, ever will. Yeah. If there comes a day where there's the second coming of Corey Dillon or LeGarrette Blount, and you get them on your team, good for you. High five. I'm not taking the chance.
Yeah.
I'm not taking the chance. Good for you. You take your victory lap, and I'll eat it, but I'm not taking the chance. So I'm willing to keep him only for this week. Then I'm going to try to cash in off the high week. Manny, what is this?
I don't know.
Again, Terry McLaurin is on here.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin. Manny,
why?
We keep Terry McLaurin.
Of course. You keep Terry McLaurin.
Of course you keep Terry McLaurin. All right, Manny, since I am playing against you in the Trophy League this week and you have Jonathan Taylor, I would like to lead with your thoughts. Keep, trade, or acquire for Jonathan Taylor.
I personally would, in our league, I would personally keep him because I do not think anybody in our league would give me value for him.
Correct. Now, if you were in a deeper league where you could package, your chances of packages are a lot better.
I would try to trade.
You would try to trade, okay.
I would.
So you're at the point where it's kind of like, I'm worried about this.
I'm worried about it because it seems like Indianapolis doesn't know what they're doing.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It seems like they haven't figured out like who their guy is going to be yet.
Yeah.
They don't know if they're going to be slinging the ball. They don't know if they're going to be running the ball. They just seem very like unsure. Not that they don't know what they're doing. They just seem to second guess every play that they're given.
Yep. All right. So for Jonathan Taylor, you said in this league you would trade him, but you don't think you're going to get the value for him, right?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I absolutely hate this show sometimes, because I am a fantasy player. That's my opponent in my league, one of my rivals for the last 5 years, and now I have to give my honest opinion of Jonathan Taylor to my opponent. This is not fun for me. And he just told me that he would trade him away. And my opinion of Jonathan Taylor is you absolutely have to break the bank to go get Jonathan Taylor. I think that Jonathan Taylor is my number one trade for acquisition right now. Week 1, he played against Seattle. Seattle's a good defense. They always have been. They were getting settled in. It's week 1. He put up 17.6 fantasy points on that team with 55% of the snaps. Then he goes on to play the Rams. Everybody knows the Rams have Aaron Donald and just a disgusting front line. He put up only 6.3 on 45% of the snaps. Nyheim Hines, same thing. Didn't get that many snaps.
Yeah.
Right? But Carson Wentz just sprained both of his ankles. And Jacob Eason is going to be the starting quarterback until who knows when. Now, week 1, Jonathan Taylor had 17 attempts, 7 targets from Seattle. He had 15 attempts, 1 target from the Rams, against the Rams, which is obviously a very impressive defense. Both two very impressive defenses. Listen to this.
In the trade analyzer thing?
No, listen to this next lineup of games.
Oh, yeah, no, I was looking at it.
Tennessee,
yeah,
at Miami, at Baltimore, at home versus Houston, at San Francisco, back home for Tennessee, back home for the Jets, back home for Jacksonville, then at Buffalo, Tampa Bay, then they get at Houston, then they get a bye in week 14, which is bad.
It's a late bye.
But hopefully you get the bye week. You know, you're already settled off into the playoffs. Everything's already figured out then. Then he plays New England in week 15, the first week of the playoffs. That sucks. But then he plays Arizona. Arizona can get run on, and especially with the passes. It doesn't look great. Week 17, he plays the Raiders in Las Vegas. I don't love that.
No.
I don't love his playoff schedule.
Raiders are formidable
absolutely.
This year.
But the next 10 games, 10 for Jonathan Taylor, are all bottom-end rush defenses. They cannot stop the run. So for me personally, this hurts because I just heard my opponent say that he is willing to trade Jonathan Taylor, but he doesn't think he'd get the value. So if I were to make him a trade this morning, before he got here and told me that, for Jonathan Taylor, I might have Jonathan Taylor on my team. But now, today's price is not yesterday's price because of what I'm saying to him right now, which I think Jonathan Taylor is an absolute must-trade for target. And if you have some lower-end guys, right now, I'll take a Chase Edmonds and a different wide receiver, and I'd give them to you for Jonathan Taylor. And you might take that. The Jonathan Taylor owner might take that. So if you are a person who's in need of a running back and you can somehow acquire Jonathan Taylor on the low because the person is looking at it like Manny is, where he's like, I don't know what's going on. This is kind of worrying me. I think he is the number...
And he's a rookie.
Who, Jonathan Taylor? This is your sophomore. Jonathan Taylor's a sophomore. Right, but he's still fresh. He's still young. Okay, I get you. But me personally, he's the number one trade for target out there right now. So I would absolutely trade for Jonathan Taylor. Manny, me and you can talk about that trade later on. Don't you dare try to wreck me. Moving on. So Manny is a trade away. I am a trade for, so maybe we can make something work here. On the air trade? On the air trade? On the air trade?
No.
Okay.
Private.
All right. Antonio Brown. What are you doing with Antonio Brown?
I mean, I would keep. I honestly think that he's going to end wide receiver number 1 in Tampa Bay this year.
Right. I agree. Not with that. I agree with Antonio Brown as far as the keep. I don't agree with Antonio Brown as the wide receiver 1 there because I don't think anybody could accurately say which of the 3 is going to be a top without maybe being wrong. They're so in between Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown. They're so interchangeable that I think
you can even throw Gronk in there too because he's technically a wide receiver.
Right. And apparently he's going to catch 1 million touchdowns this year. He's on pace for 33 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So 34 touchdowns, which okay, all right. Why?
Why?
But that's fine. I picked him up for free. But Antonio Brown's definitely a keep for me. I know people are kind of upset at the week last week, but it was just his turn.
Yeah.
Mike Evans got the week before. He got it. It's always going to be someone's turn. So when it comes to consistency on that team, I think Chris Godwin's the number 1. As far as ceiling, I think they're all the same exact. Yeah. They're all able of putting up 40 points any given week. So I keep anybody over there. Anybody that Tom Brady's throwing to, I want to keep. Chase Claypool. Don't you have Chase Claypool?
I do.
Okay, so how do you feel about Chase Claypool?
Again, only week 3, but I just keep waiting for the breakout game.
Yeah.
You know, last week I think he did like 9 points. The week before that he did 15.
Yeah.
So
it's
consistent.
Not awful, right?
Yeah, it's not awful. It's consistent like wide receiver 2 or 3.
Production, yeah.
Production, and that's where he's at. You know what I mean? I think in the official game like catalog, he's wide receiver 2, Juju's number 3.
Yes, yeah.
But he's producing the numbers where they have him slotted, but the way he looks while you're watching the game, I'm just waiting for the breakout game. So I would keep him. I would be willing to gamble and keep him and see what happens because he is a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 flex option.
Right. And that's kind of where I have him too. I have him in the wide receiver 3 flex range.
Yeah.
So yeah, go.
Yeah. I would keep. I would be willing to gamble to see what happens.
Right. I'm the same exact way right now. Whereas if obviously there's injury concern with Chase Claypool, and I think that's really why he ends up on these trade talks more than anybody. But for me, he's a keep. If something hits my inbox, that's when it's different.
Yeah.
So if something hits my inbox and I like the way it looks, then I'll look at it. But I'm not shopping Chase Claypool. Definitely a keep. Jamal Williams.
I would try and trade.
Yeah, it depends on what you get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not going to get a crazy return for Jamal Williams. So I would trade him if I can get something, but he's a keep for me. I'd like to hang on to him if I can because I think him and DeAndre Swift will be a lot, pretty interchangeable on some weeks. And, DeAndre Swift has been battling a groin injury. So with that he's battling the groin injury, it makes me a little bit more inclined to keep Jamal Williams. So I will trade him if I'm desperate, if I need that running back right now and somebody's willing to offer me something or if somebody's willing to take it. But besides that, I'm more of a keep on him. Kareem Hunt.
I would definitely trade him because like you were saying, he's not Nick Chubb.
No.
They're not even giving him a chance to be on the same level as Nick Chubb. Not that I think he can even produce the same numbers that he could. But I would definitely try and trade him.
Right. Yeah, I think Kareem Hunt kind of lives in that zone right now where he's a running back 2/flex spot. But for me, he's really more of a running back 3/flex spot because he can fall off at any given time. Yep. And I don't think his ceiling is 25 points. You know what I mean? I think it's more realistically 20 to 22. So I'm willing to trade Kareem Hunt, but at the same time, I'm looking at it as if I need to get a great piece in return. You know what I mean? If I can package Kareem Hunt with somebody and go far up the running back depth chart, then I will. But as far as that, I'd like to keep him depending on what I can get. So I'll keep him because I know he's a flex. I know I can put him in my running back 2 slot, and he offers me a lot more security than most. So I am willing to trade him depending on the consistency I'm getting in return, but be very wary with how you're trading him is what I would say. Be very wary with what you're getting. To me, it has to be a slam dunk for me to move Kareem Hunt because I don't think there's many other players that could put into your running back 2 and give you a 22-point day. You know what I mean? Like, if you put Jamal Williams in your running back 2, you're probably not getting 22. You know what I mean? If you put Kareem Hunt in there, you can kind of have a little bit more confidence. So, all depends on your team structure and what you really need, but I'd like to hang on to him if I can. I do agree with Manny, though, that if you can get a good offer for him and let go of him and move up the board, I would as well. Manny, Antonio Gibson.
I would keep Gibson.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
I think people are very worried right now because of what they saw later on in the game and during the game. They saw J.D. McKissick get the touchdown. But to me, it was the clear number 2, as J.D. McKissick being the clear number 2, Antonio Gibson being the 1. We really didn't see Washington wake up until later in that game. Both teams really didn't wake up until the second half. There was a lot of penalties in the first half, and then J.D. McKissick vultured the touchdown. So I know a lot of people are kind of worried about Antonio Gibson, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm with Manny. Definitely hang on to him, and don't worry right now. He'll be fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because he's shown the coaches that he can get there. He can get them to the red zone. He can get them to the end zone. But when you see it's disheartening to see someone get vultured a touchdown.
Right. And it happens to the best of them.
There's been playoff games where, it's a couple years ago I had Bell, right, when he was playing for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And they were running with Bell the whole game, and the one touchdown I needed to win in advance, it was just given to someone else.
D'Angelo Williams?
Yeah, it was just,
I remember D'Angelo Williams.
Someone else. And it was like, it was like on the one, the second down, and they were just like, oh, Bell, you know what? Take a break.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
why take a break? Because D'Angelo Williams, that's so funny, though, because I remember that. And it's funny to remember now that at one point, wow, that's crazy. At one point in time, Pittsburgh had Le'Veon Bell, D'Angelo Williams, Antonio Brown. Hines wasn't on that team, was he? No, Hines was long gone, yeah, but still. No, they had one. Who was the wide receiver before Antonio showed up? Yeah, they had one elite. Can't remember who it was. Anyway, I don't want to keep rambling on. We're already way past our time. Manny, we got 3 more, and then lineup versus lineup. Let's just bust out these 3. Saquon Barkley, what are you doing?
Trade.
See, I got to keep him. I'm hanging on to him. I think that New York is holding them back for now. For now, they want him to get healthy before they finally release him. He broke off that awesome run. He looked great on that 41-yard run. So for me, he's a keep. Manny, what do you want for Saquon Barkley though? I got to be getting something great in return.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to be getting a number 1 wide receiver, number 1 running back in return.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Or a great package. James Robinson.
Keep.
Yeah. See, I want to keep him because they should be using him more, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Urban Meyer's ego extends.
It's getting in the way.
Yeah, it's not up to par with what his team's talent is. And so for me, he's a trade away. He's one of the people that I want to try to get off my team. If I can try to get him off my team, then I'm going to. So I would start exploring trades for James Robinson. Cortland Sutton?
See, I want to say trade.
Yep.
But I think I would get bullied into keeping him.
Yeah, see, I'm an absolute keep with him. I think that even when Jerry Jeudy does come back, Cortland Sutton's going to have already built a rapport with Teddy Bridgewater.
Established, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully that gives us a better, landing spot for Cortland Sutton, but I do believe that you can start slotting in Cortland Sutton at a wide receiver 2 every single game. All right, moving on to lineup versus lineup, Manny. Let us do this quick because we've been keeping these nice people here for way too long. Let us see here. I got my weekly rankings, and we are doing lineup versus lineup. Now, everybody, if you've never been with us before for lineup versus lineup, what we do is we take the top 10 quarterbacks, the top 10 running backs, the top 15 wide receivers, and the top 5 tight ends, and we get rid of them. And then now me and Manny get to do a live back and forth draft to draft 1 quarterback, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, and 1 defense for this week alone. Mm-hmm. So, meaning it's just for this week. Manny, since you are the most humble special guest, I will give you the 101 overall pick.
I gotta say, the number 1 overall pick for anything.
Oh yeah, this is a draft.
Oh okay.
Oh yeah, this is a draft. You
okay, I thought we were going.
No, this is a draft.
Okay, so number 1 pick. Let's see. For my number one pick for lineup versus lineup, I would say DeAndre Swift.
DeAndre Swift? All right, so you're taking that. Go ahead and put that into your show doc. All right, so Manny takes DeAndre Swift versus Baltimore. That's a great pick. And he's playing against me. I have DeAndre Swift, and we're playing against each other in the Trophy League, so that's kind of funny. My first overall pick for the draft here, I'm going to take Mike Williams versus Kansas City because I think that could be an absolute shootout. So I'm going to definitely go ahead and try to get in on that action in that game with Mike Williams.
My second pick, you said we get 2 running backs, right?
Yeah.
My second pick would have to be Jonathan Taylor.
Is he in there? Can you?
Yeah, he's not. He's
at Tennessee, you're right.
He's not read it out.
Oh, so the person that you're playing this week.
Yeah.
All right, let me see here. Because now you got both your running backs. Oh, Manny, go to the bottom. The tab at the bottom, lineup versus lineup.
Oh, sorry. Just writing everywhere.
All right, so now that he has Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift, I don't have to draft a running back because he can't draft a running back anymore. So there's no sense in me taking running back. I might as well go wide receiver heavy. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. These are some fun names here, buddy. Cooper Kupp.
He's not in.
I'm whining that I can't have him. Tyler Lockett just made it outside the top 15 for me, so I'm going to select Tyler Lockett for my second wide receiver.
All right. So for my first wide receiver, I am going to pick up DJ Moore.
DJ Moore playing at Houston this weekend, which they should beat them up. Oh, man, let's see who's out here. Gross. I'm going to go ahead and grab my tight end here because there's not a lot on here that I like. So I'm going to go ahead and draft Gronk against the Rams in hopes that he does the same thing and just picks up 2 touchdowns in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So let me grab those two let me grab him in hopes that happens again. Which I'm surprised Gronk made it out of the top 5 this week, but it must be a projections thing for me. Oh, that's right. So yeah, Kelsey, Waller, Hawkinson, Kittle, and Andrews. Okay, that makes sense. That's why they're in the top 5. Okay, that makes sense.
So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna pick another wide receiver, and I'm gonna take the heart attack, and I'm gonna get Mike Williams.
I got Mike Williams.
Oh, Mike Evans, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was like, no, I didn't think about that. All right, so Manny goes Mike Evans. Oh, man. So now he can draft another wide receiver. I already have tight end. Who are the quarterbacks? Plenty of quarterbacks. Oh, so you took Mike Evans. So now I'm between... How many wide receivers do I have left? 1? You have 1 and I have 1. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I already have Lockett. So do I want all of Seattle's targets? Or do I think that one of these guys is going to finish above DK? Who do I think it's going to be? If I could pick anybody in here, who's got the easy matchup? Nobody that I want. All right, the Jets are playing against Denver. I'm going to go ahead and grab Cortland Sutton in hopes that I can capture lightning in the bottle. Yeah, it was between him and Christian Kirk. So if you want to be a jerk, you can go ahead and pick up Christian Kirk. I'm going to grab Cortland Sutton.
For my pick for tight end, I'm going to go with Noah Fant.
Okay, Noah Fant, same game, playing against the Jets. For my quarterback, I'm going to go with my man that I have projected at 11, Daniel Jones. So I have Daniel Jones. He's playing, at home against Miami this week. He's playing at home against Atlanta. I have him projected to score 30 points.
Nice.
So my Daniel Jones train keeps running, and now he's in my lineup against Manny.
My last wide receiver, Allen Robinson.
Okay, very nice. And he's playing who? Cleveland?
Yeah.
Okay, he's playing Cleveland. All right, so now I need a defense and 2 running backs. Now, due to the fact that Manny cannot draft running backs anymore, he can only draft defenses, it's logical that I take defense. So I'm going to pick up my defense that I picked up this week that I was confident in, and that's the Panthers. They're playing against Houston, and they're playing against a brand new Davis Mills quarterback on his first week. So that sounds like disaster, and I want all of that. And the Panthers are playing extremely well right now, so...
I'm probably going to have and pick. I'm going to pick Pittsburgh defense.
Okay.
They're going against Cincinnati. It's
division game. They're
always a division game.
They play fierce against them every time.
Yep.
So I don't doubt that. All right, so now I have to pick 2 running backs. Manny doesn't get to pick any. And who do I want to take? I think I'm still staring at the top spots. As far as tiers go, I still have a lot in kind of the first and second tier, but I want to look at the third tiers and kind of look, do I want to play Barkley at Atlanta? Do I want to play Gordon versus the Jets? Do I want to put my money where my mouth is and say Damian Harris does tear apart New Orleans? What do I want to do? I think I'm going to take David Montgomery for security at Cleveland in hopes that he gives me that solid 15-point floor with Justin Fields coming in. And Manny, go ahead and tell us who your quarterback is.
I'm going to say Mac Jones.
Mac Jones.
I really like the way Mac Jones looks.
Okay, so you think Mac Jones this week against New Orleans, this is his chance to start going. Okay.
And it's at home.
Right.
And
New Orleans hasn't been playing well.
He just looks really good,
right.
Man.
All right, so since you took the shot and you're putting your money where your mouth is with Mac Jones, I will put my money where my mouth is with Damian Harris, who I think is going to have an explosive week this week. So, Manny, go ahead and read off your lineup before we let these good people go today.
So, I got Mac Jones, DJ Moore, Mike Evans, Allen Robinson, DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, Noah Fant, and Pittsburgh defense.
It's a good lineup. That's a good lineup, especially for us to get rid of all these players and then drop in a lot of lineups.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of lineups probably look like this. Mike Evans, Allen Robinson, DJ Moore. A lot of people probably have a combination close to that. DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor. That's normal. So... Yeah. So a lot of people are looking at these, these are normal lineups, so it might be good, for them to see that we're drafting these people, and they might be worried about them. So, my lineup is Daniel Jones at quarterback, who I have projected to put up 30. Mike Williams, who I think is going to go off. Tyler Lockett, who is steady Freddy. Cortland Sutton, who has big wide receiver 1 ability. David Montgomery for consistency. Damian Harris for my upside. Gronk in hopes that he gets those touchdowns. And the Panthers defense. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into this long show. Manny, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully next Wednesday we can get you back here. It all depends on scheduling everything. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. If you stay till the end, we appreciate you guys so much. Check us out on TikTok. Check me out on Instagram. Sometimes on Twitter. Everybody, love y'all. See ya.
Peace.